A 5-year-old is scraping the flesh from an animal hide. Her hands are small. The blade is real. No one is watching to make sure she doesn't hurt herself, because hurting yourself is how you learn, and learning is how you survive. She isn't being neglected. She is being trusted with her life. We built a world around protecting children from reality. Car seats, age ratings, warning labels on plastic bags. We have entire laws, entire government agencies dedicated to the idea that children should not encounter the adult world until we decide they're ready. And we call this progress. But for 95% of human history, childhood as a protected, sheltered, consequence-free zone did not exist. Not because ancient people were cruel, not because they didn't love their children, because the concept hadn't been invented yet. The thing we call childhood, this long, cushioned developmental runway between birth and responsibility, is not a biological stage. It's a cultural construction, and it's shockingly new. So here's the question that sits at the center of all of this. If childhood is an invention, what did we build it to protect children from, and what did we accidentally take away? In the 1960s, French historian Philippe Ariès published a book called Centuries of Childhood. His argument was radical for its time, that medieval and ancient societies didn't recognize childhood as a distinct phase of life. Children appeared in paintings as small adults, same posture, same clothing, same expression. They entered apprenticeships at 6 or 7. They worked alongside adults in fields, workshops, and kitchens. They witnessed death, sex, and violence not because society was indifferent to them, but because those things were simply part of life, and children were part of life too. Ariès was later criticized for overstating the case, but the core observation held. Anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherer communities, the Hadza in Tanzania, the Kungsan in the Kalahari, the Agda in the Philippines, found something striking. Children in these societies are competent in ways that would be unthinkable in the modern West. By age 5, Hadza children navigate the bush alone. By 8, they contribute meaningfully to the family's food supply. By 10, they make decisions that affect group survival. And they do this not because they're forced to, but because they're allowed to. The environment trusts them. The adults around them treat capability as something to hand over, not withhold. Developmental psychologist David Lancy spent decades documenting what he calls the weird anomaly: Western, educated, industrialized, rich, democratic societies, and how our model of childhood is a profound global outlier, not the norm, the exception. Here's where it starts to unravel. The modern concept of childhood doesn't just come from love, it comes from economics. Before industrialization, child labor was the default. Not as exploitation, though, it became that, but as integration. Children worked because households functioned as units of production. Everyone contributed. Age was not a barrier, it was a gradient. Then factories happened, and something shifted. As economies industrialized, children moved from contributors to dependents. Child labor laws, necessary, important, hard-won, had a secondary effect no one fully planned for. They created a new category of human, the child who is exempt from the adult world. Legally, structurally, philosophically. By the late 19th century, middle-class families in Europe and America began building what historians call the protected childhood. Schools expanded, play was formalized. The idea that children needed to be shielded from stress emotionally, physically, socially became doctrine. Now pause, because here is where it gets strange. The brain develops through challenge. This is not a parenting opinion, this is neuroscience. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for decision-making, impulse control, risk assessment, builds itself through exposure to real stakes, real consequences, real uncertainty. When you remove challenge from childhood, you don't protect the brain, you starve it. Psychologist Peter Gray has spent years documenting the collapse of free, unsupervised play among children in Western societies and the parallel rise of anxiety, depression, and what he calls a crisis of helplessness in young adults. Children who were never allowed to resolve their own conflicts, navigate their own risks, or fail without an adult cushioning the fall. They reach adulthood having never practiced being adults. And here is the final layer. The Jew Hawanzi people of the Kalahari have a word for a kind of spiritual potency, an energy that children are considered to carry in full from birth, not something they grow into, something they arrive with. Adulthood, in their framework, is not about gaining capability. It is about learning to carry what you already have. We built a system premised on the opposite, that children arrive incomplete, that they need to be filled. Which one of those assumptions is the dangerous one? Think about your own childhood. Think about the moments you actually remember, not the vacations, not the holidays, the moments that built something in you. Chances are, Most of them involve some version of real stakes. A fight you had to resolve yourself. A risk you took that could have gone wrong. A moment where an adult wasn't there, and you had to figure it out. You weren't damaged by those moments. You were made by them. Now think about what you protect the children in your life from. What you monitor, restrict, soften. And ask yourself honestly whether you're doing it for them or because the uncertainty is unbearable for you. Ancient parents loved their children. The Neanderthal who placed flowers on a child's grave loved their child. The Hadza mother who hands her 6-year-old a blade and walks away, she loves her child. She just has a different theory of what love requires. We tell ourselves that childhood is sacred, that protecting it is one of the most humane things a civilization can do. But there's another way to read it. We took the most capable, neurologically plastic, fearlessly curious years of a human life, and we turned them into a waiting room. Somewhere in Tanzania, a 9-year-old is making a real decision about where to look for water. She doesn't know she's developing resilience. She doesn't know she's building a self. She's just living. And the question that doesn't have a clean answer, the one worth sitting with, is the childhood we invented protecting our children? Or protecting us from having to watch them become themselves?